All right, so today we're going to be talking about classifying polynomials by degree and by number of terms. So you can write down this first table. If you need to pause the video, then go ahead and do so. One thing to make sure you are aware of, that you need to have the audio on. So make sure that you better be listening, right? Is your audio on? And make sure that you write down all the examples. If you have any questions, you can ask those in class tomorrow. But you need to be writing the secret word down, which I'm not going to write down. You need to just hear me say it at some point. Otherwise, you're not going to get credit for the video. All right, so if you classify by degree, it's based on what is the highest exponent. Right? If you have an x to the fourth, that would be a fourth degree polynomial, and the word for it is quartic. If you have x squared, which we talked about a lot last semester, that is a degree of 2, and it's quadratic. So we did the quadratic formula. That's why it's called the quadratic formula, because you're solving for an equation that has the highest variable as x squared. If you're classifying by the number of terms, those are each separated by the spaces, or by the pluses and minuses. So here's one term, x squared, here's another one, 3x, and here's another one, 2. So that would be a trinomial. If you only have one term, such as 3x, that would be a monomial. All right, if those were too fast, you can go ahead and rewind the video. All right, so things to remember when you're adding and subtracting polynomials. Make sure that you combine your like terms. All right, so for example, like terms would be 13x squared and 5x squared. Those could add together to give you 18x squared. The reason why they're like terms is because they have the same variable part and also the same exponent. All right, when you are subtracting, make sure that you distribute the negative sign. All right, so for example, if you had 13x squared minus the quantity 5x squared minus 3, you would need to distribute this negative to the 5x squared and the negative 3, and then you can add your like terms together. So you'd have negative 5x squared, a negative times a negative is positive 3, and then you look for like terms. So 13 minus 5 is 8x squared plus 3. Now these are not like terms because you have an x squared and you have a constant, therefore you can't add them together. Okay. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and flip over to the other side. All right, so now we want you to complete the table using this chart from the front. Okay, so if you have to refer back to that, go ahead and flip your paper over. All right, the degree is the highest exponent. Well, I don't see any variables, so this has a degree of 0. Therefore, this is a constant. How many terms are there? There's just one, and so this is a monomial. This is the only one that's different, so we're going to come back to that one and do it after we fill out the table. So we're going to go to the one that says 3x. It just has a single term, and the exponent there is implied to be a 1, so that would be linear. And 3x is the only term in the problem, so that would be a monomial. If you look at 7x plus 3, there's two terms, so that would be a binomial. Remember, terms are separated by pluses and minuses. And again, it has an implied first, a 1 is an exponent, so that's a first degree or a linear. So it would be a linear binomial. Okay, if you look at the exponents here, we have a highest degree is 2, so those would both be quadratic. This one has a highest degree of 3, so that's cubic. And this has the highest degree of 4, so that's quartic. If you count the number of terms, we have two terms here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so these each have 3 terms. And this has 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so anything with 2 terms is a binomial. Anything with 3 terms is a trinomial. And we talked a lot about binomials and trinomials when we did factoring. So our secret word of the day is factoring. Make sure you write that down, otherwise you're not going to get credit for the homework. This has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, so that's a polynomial. Poly means many. All right, so let's go back to this other one. This is the only one that doesn't have any pluses or minuses, and it has two variables, right, x cubed and y to the fourth. So in this case, you're going to add 3 plus 4 and get a degree of 7. So this would be a 7th degree. And it has one term, so it would be a monomial. The only reason why you add these together is because these are being multiplied. So this is the only problem that's going to be like that. All right, so we're going to do the operation, which is either adding or subtracting, and then we're also going to classify. And if you need to refer back to the table from the first page, then go ahead. So remember, you already know your secret word. You should write that down. All right, so we're looking for like terms. If we're adding, right, this is addition, we're going to look for things that have the same variable and the same exponent. So we have 7x squared. We have 7x minus 9x. That's negative 2x. And 5 and 8 is 13. Okay, so we added. And now it's a quadratic because the highest degree is 2. And there's 1, 2, 3 terms, so it's a trinomial. Okay, this one is also addition. So go ahead and look at, there's x to the fifth, but there's nothing else with x to the fifth. So that's 2x to the fifth. Here's my x to the fourth. There's an x cubed here and another x cubed, a negative 4 and a positive 4 add up to 0. So that's gone. Then I have a negative 2x squared and a negative 1x squared, so that's negative 3x squared. And then I have 5 and 7, that adds to be 12. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. That's a polynomial. And my fifth degree, that's my highest exponent, so that's a quintic polynomial. All right, this one is subtract. So when you subtract, you need to distribute the negative sign first. So that's negative 9x squared plus 4x minus 5. And then over here, I'm just going to bring down all these terms. All right, so now you're looking for your like terms. Do you have anything in common? Well, I've got x squared, I have x's, and I have just numbers. All right, so 4 minus 9, that's negative 5x squared. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1x, or just x, and 10 minus 5 is plus 5. Okay, so I have 3 terms. That's a trinomial. My highest degree is 2, so that would be a quadratic. All right, final question. We have another subtraction problem, so we're going to distribute our negative sign. Negative 13x squared minus 9 plus 4x cubed minus 5x. Basically, I just changed all my signs to the other sign. Right? If it's positive, it's negative. If it's negative, it's positive. And these you keep the same. All right, after I have all this, I'm going to look at my highest exponent. That's cubic. So that's 14x cubed. X squared comes next, so negative 16x squared. We've got 5x and negative 5x, so that's 0x. So I don't need to write anything. And then positive 4 minus 9 is negative 5. All right, so this is a cubic trinomial. And then the last thing is there may be some questions about what is the lead coefficient. Okay, so your lead coefficient is just your first term. So my lead coefficient here would be 14. All right, my lead coefficient in this problem is negative 5. My lead coefficient here is 2, and my lead coefficient here is 7. So lead coefficient is just the first number when it's in standard form. And you can leave off the variable, so just the constant. All right, again, if you have trouble with any of these, maybe write down any questions that you have. You can ask those in class tomorrow. If there's a problem number or a vocabulary word that you didn't understand, then please ask us tomorrow when you get to class. Again, you have to have your secret word filled out. That tells me that you actually listened to the video as opposed to just watching it without any audio. All right, see you tomorrow in class.